afternoon or good morning, wherever you might be from. This is Glenn Sedgefield with DMI. I'm the VP of Marketing here. And we're kicking off a three-part mastermind series called Money in Motion. Here's the premise real quick in case you don't know already. Roughly $60 billion in annuity contracts come due this year. And a meaningful piece of that is sitting in books that belong to advisors on this call. So our industry is efficient. If there's a better answer out there for your client, that information reaches them eventually, right? The only question is who's going to bring it to them. So over 3 Wednesdays, we're going to work one book of business, start, finish. So find it, match it, move it. Today, Eric shows you how to surface what's already in your book. September 9th, Declan is going to take you through matching that money to the right contract. And then September 16th, Corey Adamson is going to make sure the case gets issued before year end. So just want to introduce Eric real quick. He's today's host. He's a VP of annuity sales here at DMI. And Eric does all of it. He does products, illustrations, case design, and the practice side as well. So what he's bringing today is sort of the unglamorous part, what's already sitting in your book that you haven't looked at lately, and what it's worth, and what it's worth to go look at it, right? One quick note on the format. So we've split this into 3 sessions because it's one continuous case study, and each of us take a leg of it, right? That's not how we're organized. Eric, Declan, and Corey, they're all VPs of annuity sales, and any one of them can take you from a name on a list to an issued contract. So we're dividing a story, not a relationship. So, and then today, just want to remind everybody that, please ask your questions through the Q&A function. We like to get you engaged as much as possible. We want to make sure this is catered to you or customized to you. So that's how we best cater it to you, right? Uh, but I'd like to just get cracking. I know Eric is eager to get started. So, oh, and by the way, stay till the end because we do have something that we want to give you. We want to give you homework. I know homework can be a nasty word. I have a 14-year-old and he doesn't much appreciate the word, but I think you guys might appreciate it. It's a little piece of homework we have. We want to cover it at the end, and we'll cover that and then any questions y'all have. But so, Eric, you want to take it away?
Sure, Glenn. Thank you. And good morning or afternoon to everybody that's joining us today. As Glenn mentioned, my name is Erick Lindewall. I'm one of the VPs of annuity sales here at DMI. And I apparently drew the short straw because in this three-part series, I'm going to talk about, as Glenn said, the unglamorous part of this process, which is identifying the opportunities, gathering them, collating them, and preparing all the information and data we need to implement this program that ultimately will find clients in better solutions and you writing more annuity business. So as we dive in, I want to start where I always like to end, which is by saying thank you. For those of you that are with us today that currently work with DMI, on behalf of myself and everyone at DMI, thank you for your continued partnership and friendship. We certainly don't take that lightly, and we appreciate having the opportunity to work with you. And those of you maybe that don't currently work with DMI, we would welcome an opportunity to discuss with you ways in which we can work together to make your annuity and life insurance practice easier and more productive. So as we dive in, I'm going to do a little screen share here. We're going to talk about the rollover wave. And one thing that I want to start with, I have been wholesaling annuities. It's hard for me to say this out loud, but I've been wholesaling annuities for creeping up on 30 years. Been in the business about 36 years. So one thing I can tell you in the annuity space is that more often than not, when I speak to advisors that have been active in the annuity space, annuities get written, set aside, and oftentimes forgotten about, both by clients and advisors. And it is sometimes something where, we have to get our arms around what is that book of business look like? It's really easy to forget about them. And so that's what we're going to talk about today is how to go about locating all of these opportunities and ranking them, and then creating a strategy to get back in front of those clients to potentially, well, certainly at least review those opportunities and potentially enhance them. So as we dive in, as Glenn mentioned, there's about $60 billion that will be coming due. When I say coming due, coming out of surrender charge over the next year. Now, there's a lot of different types of annuities. There's traditional fixed and MYGA annuities, multi-year guaranteed annuities. There's also RILAs or buffered annuities, variable annuities, and of course, fixed indexed annuities. Now, when we use that term coming due, that really pertains to RILAs and RILAs and MYGAs more than VAs and FIAs. Certainly, VAs and FIAs come out of surrender, but there's no notification process on that side of the fence. But certainly, what we want to do is know about those old contracts out there and get in front of the evaluation process that goes on when they come due. The client has a decision with every one of these contracts. They can basically renew it by default, which is leaving it where it's at. They could potentially move it to a better solution with a different contract. They can cash it out, take the money and run, which obviously carries some tax implications. So there's a lot of different options there. And typically what I see is they either ignore it and it auto renews, or I get a call from an advisor and it's a fire drill. We have 2 days to make a decision, right? We've missed the opportunity to get ahead of the conversation, and all of a sudden we're facing a deadline and we're scrambling to potentially find a new solution. So what we're trying to do today is to take all of that stress away and create a plan to get ahead of this opportunity. So, there's already people calling your clients. When an annuity contract is coming due, there's going to be some notifications that go out, certainly from the carrier, typically 30 to 45 days before an annuity contract comes due. They'll receive that automated notice from the carrier, typically offering what the next rate will be, and that rate is decided by the carrier. Editorial note, in today's marketplace, it's almost always worse than what they could get by potentially moving to a new contract. But that's not the only piece of information that's going to be coming at the client during this time. There's always going to be someone down at the bank always pitching a special CD or a special money market. That information is always getting put in front of your client, and you're not there to sort of head that off at the pass. And there's also a lot of mailers that are always showing up. And, I'm of the age where I get all the dinner seminar invitations in my local area. I'm 58 years old, so apparently I'm on a list. And I get probably 1 or 2 a month inviting me to a retirement planning seminar, an annuity review seminar. So the reality is that there's a lot of folks out there reaching out to your clients without you knowing, trying to get in front of them to have the conversation that we're talking about you having today. So that information is coming. And as Glenn mentioned, and we'll reference in another slide here shortly, we are in a very efficient industry. 20, 30 years ago, our industry wasn't really efficient. And what I mean by that is if there's a solution out there or a change or a different strategy that would do something really impactful for your client, that really belongs in your client's situation, that information is going to get in front of your client. It absolutely is. Believe that. The only question is it going to be you that brings them that information? And that's an important point. I'm going to come back to that in a few slides. So the reality is for many of us with large annuity books, we don't really have a lead problem. We've got a practice problem. There's an enormous amount of opportunity that's already in your CRM. Think about the clients that are in your book that you did annuity business with many, many years ago. One of the hardest parts about creating a relationship that results in business is building the trust. With your existing clients, you've already done that. It's getting the yes. With your existing clients, you've already done that. In fact, they voted with their checkbook many years ago that they trusted you, they appreciated your recommendation, and they said yes. So really, we believe that your next big opportunity for growth in your practice is already in your practice. So what we want to do is build out a program to help you leverage that opportunity in your book. Now, I mentioned how the industry is really efficient, and that information, that potential better opportunity or better solution is going to find its way in front of your client. The industry is efficient. Like we said, the only question is who brings that information to them. But I want to take that a step further. So if there's a solution out there or an opportunity that really would bring additional value to your client's life and somebody else brings that solution to them, they're likely not only will get that annuity trade, but they're not going to stop there. Maybe they're an advisor at a bank or another financial advisor or whomever. They're also going to want to review the investment assets maybe that you have under management if you're a fee-based advisor. They're going to talk about the life insurance coverage that the client might have. And quite frankly, they're going to get the referrals too. So let me know when I hit you where it hurts. This isn't just about getting another annuity trade. It's about solidifying your relationship and retaining all the other business and opportunity that exists in that client relationship. So it's really, really important that we don't ignore what oftentimes we view as sort of the dead assets, which are the set it and forget it annuities. So we're going to talk a little bit about these fictitious folks, Dave and Linda. If you're on this call today, Dave and Linda exist in your book if you sold annuities. You know, they're 61 and 63. Dave's going to retire soon. And, you know, lo and behold, he's got this $240,000 MYGA that he bought 5 years ago in 2021. Now, folks, let me tell you, working with advisors all over the country every day, the way this usually works is we get the call a week or 3 days or 2 days before the deadline saying, hey, what should Dave and Linda do? They got their renewal notice. And oftentimes that just auto renews. And Dave and Linda oftentimes are okay with that because if it isn't broke, don't fix it. But, you know, what we really want to do is be talking and reaching out to Dave and Linda long before that renewal notice gets to them. And we'll talk about that. So, you know, Dave and Linda may be thinking that the only decision to make here is what should we do with this $240,000 MYGA that's coming due? But, you know, in 2021, Dave wasn't 18 months from retirement. He was 5 years and 18 months from retirement. So probably was thinking about things a little differently then than he is now. So getting together with them and reviewing all of their options with respect to this one contract is going to give you an opportunity to reset the conversation specific to their current reality. You know, you may talk about the MYGA renewal, but you may get into retirement income planning with them, and it'll open up a whole lot more opportunities. Let me get my button to work here. There we go. So the first thing we want to do to get ahead of this is to build a calendar. Now, that sounds a little bit more daunting than what it is, but you know, before we can tackle a problem, we have to get our arms around the playing field, right? So the playing field is your existing book of business. And what we want to do is help you build a database of all of your existing annuity contracts that are in force. Not just the ones that are out of surrender, but maybe the ones that even have a year or two left, or maybe the ones that were only issued in 2022, 2023. Let's build out that calendar in that list of contracts and help you create a game plan to attack the opportunity. So, as I mentioned, we're going to draw a line in the sand for every contract written in 2023 or earlier. Now, I'm talking about variable annuities. I'm talking about RILAs. I'm talking about fixed annuities and MYGAs, as well as fixed indexed annuities. So, if it was written in 2023 or earlier, we want it on the list, right? And it could be even those older contracts, you know, that Allianz 222 you wrote 10 years ago. or maybe a VA even 10, 11 or 12 or 13 years ago. Put it on the list, and I'll explain why in a moment. We want certainly to think about contracts that are even still in surrender charge, because again, this is not purely a replacement list, but rather a review template that we're going to work with you to get through. So, a little bit on contracts that are still in surrender. Some of you may be sitting there saying, well, hang on a second. Everything I've ever read and every regulator I've ever heard talk about suitability and compliance says that we absolutely don't want to move contracts that are still in surrender. And generally speaking, that is correct. But we are in a pricing environment right now, folks, that is far different than 2021 or 2020 or 2019 or even 22. The pricing environment that we are in right now, simply put, is the best it's ever been in decades, right? So interest rates have come up, and the features and benefits on all types of annuity contracts, whether it's the rate on MYGAs or the features and benefits on fixed indexed annuities, especially with guaranteed lifetime income riders, we're literally in the golden age of the annuity business. And so the golden age is not going to last forever. So some of those contracts that are still in surrender, we still want to review them to see if there might be an opportunity to improve upon them. There are certain contracts in the industry today that, will utilize a premium bonus where we can more than offset the surrender charge that the client might incur by making a move. Now, it's important to know that we never, ever want to consider moving an annuity contract, a client from one annuity contract to the next, unless there is a clear, definable, and significant advantage to the client. What I'm here to tell you is, because of the golden age of annuity pricing that we're in right now, there's never been a better time to substantially improve one's potential outcome. And if we can do it with a net economic gain for the client, even with contracts that are in surrender, why wouldn't we at least consider it? So I just wanted to throw that out there on contracts that are still in surrender. So we talk about the list, the tool, the calendar, right? So what are we talking about? Really, there's only 4 pieces of data that we need. I shouldn't even say that you need. Obviously, the name and phone number, the easy stuff, the obvious stuff, the maturity date on the contract, either the surrender expiration or the maturity of the rate guarantee, whichever is appropriate, depending on the type of contract it is. Obviously, a dollar amount. What's it worth? And then certainly we're going to assign a call date. And the call date, really, the first call really ought to be 90 days before the maturity date of the annuity or the end of the surrender charge of the annuity. Now, remember, if it's a MYGA, that rate renewal notice typically comes out 30 to 45 days before the maturity of the contract. So again, we want to get out ahead of that. Quite frankly, we want you to be the first person or entity that's reaching out to the client and saying, hey, there's something coming up about 3 months down the road. I've proactively started reviewing your contract. I need 30 minutes of your time to talk about potential options. So when the time comes, we have a game plan in place, right? That first call is really important. We're not calling up and asking for a decision. We're not calling up and talking about a product or making any kind of proposal. We're simply saying to the client, we're on top of this. We're keeping an eye on it. There may be some opportunities for improvement, or at least some details or details that you need to know, so that when the time comes to make a decision, you have all the information you need to make an intelligent, well-informed decision. Right? Now, we're on a webinar here, and none of you have your camera on, so I can't see a show of hands. But if I could, I'd ask, show of hands, who wants all the information they need to make an intelligent, well-informed decision? I know whenever I'm making an important decision, I seek out data. I want to know all the details. I want to know all the facts, so that when it comes time for me to make a decision, I'm well-informed and I make an intelligent decision. Show of hands. Who wants to make an unintelligent, ill-informed decision? There's no hands up, right? So that's the first call. And we're not going to look at every contract the same, right? So we always recommend that you tier these contracts. And we've listed some different tiers here based on premium size. You can modify that based on your relationships with the client, or you could just use a premium tiering system. But we definitely want to prioritize contracts. Quite frankly, some are more important than others to get in front of early. So we want to do a tiering system on your list. And there's a timeline that we think makes a ton of sense. And we don't think that based on our opinion. This is based on our experience. So at DMI, we've been in the industry, one of the oldest IMOs in the industry, about 37 years. And so we see all types of advisors. And what we've done is we've taken a look at the most very successful advisors nationwide that we work with, the folks that have the strongest persistency, that never lose clients, the folks that consistently write significant annuity premium year in and year out. They have a process. And with respect to reviews, this is their process. They get out ahead of it, 90 days out ahead of that maturity date, and they make their initial reach out to the client. 60 days out, long before the renewal notice arrives in the mailbox, or long before the contract comes out of surrender, they're having their meeting. They're talking about goals and objectives for the money, reconfirming what this money is supposed to be doing for the client, finding out any additional facts that have changed since the last time they've reviewed this contract or spoken to the client, and then ultimately making some recommendations based on all of those facts. And then 30 days out, they're already to the point of paperwork. So they're out ahead of it. So when that maturity date arrives, we've done an initial evaluation and reach out to the client. We've let them know we're keeping an eye on things. We're ahead of it. We've done our meeting. We've done our evaluation, our fact finding. We've responded to any concerns or objections the client might have, and we've created a plan. And then long before, 30 days before the maturity, we've actually started the process of implementing that plan. So again, as I mentioned, with certain advisors that we've all worked with over the years that have huge annuity books, this can be a daunting task. And the reason why is, well, there's really a few reasons why. Number one, you're all busy. Okay. We're always chasing new opportunities, new clients, new situations. And we oftentimes put the existing book on the back burner. The other challenge many advisors have is over a number of years, they may have written dozens and dozens of contracts with multiple carriers. And quite frankly, they don't know how to build the list. That's where we can help you. We're going to ask you to just get logins from every carrier you've ever written a piece of business at, if you don't have logins to the carrier portal. And we'll show you how you can pull your books of business from all of those carriers. That's going to be the data that you'll need to create your list. And then ultimately, everyone here at DMI is very experienced in the annuity space. We've got the resources, we've got the technology to be able to do the evaluations on the existing contracts and figure out if there's a better solution. That's a little less important if it's strictly a MYGA trade or a MYGA situation, because MYGAs are about rate for the most part. But if it's an FIA or a variable annuity or a RILA, we're evaluating income riders, whether they're needed or not. We're evaluating participation rates and or caps. We're evaluating liquidity and all of that. That's where we come in. We want to partner with you and help you go through that process and make a clean, seamless, and more importantly, impactful recommendation to your client. So really what we're asking you is to make 3 calls, right? And we're going to go through here in a moment the homework session or the homework piece that Glenn referenced, but it's 3 easy calls to be able to do a good job for clients and, more importantly, put substantial new opportunity in front of you each and every month. So when we talk about the 3 calls, the first one's easy. I'm calling about an upcoming date. Hey, Dave, you know what? I've been doing some research. You probably don't even realize this yet, but you've got a contract that's coming due on the 14th. And, we want to get out ahead of that because you're going to have to make a decision. And I'd rather get ahead of that decision and get you all the information you need so that we've got plenty of time to consider what we're going to do, right? Real easy call. And like I said, you're not asking for anything other than a date, other than a time to get together to be able to do a review. You're not asking to sell a product. You're not pitching product. You're not mentioning product, and you're just asking for 30 minutes. You'll get some objections. 9 times out of 10, it'll be, you know what, I've been pretty happy with it, so I'm just going to let it ride. That can mean a couple of different things. They haven't thought about it and they don't want to deal with it, or they're afraid of being sold something. And so, you might say, hey, you know what, that may very well be the case, but, we certainly should renew it because at the end of the day, if we can get you a better rate or a better solution or better performance or what have you, why wouldn't we at least consider that? Right. And what people love to know is, hey, if there's not an opportunity to substantially improve your situation, I'll tell you that. And that's a very comforting thing for a client to hear is, hey, look, if this thing is still the gold standard, I'll let you know. If there's an opportunity to do better, I'll let you know. At least that way you'll know. And oftentimes, when people go through this process, they're pretty grateful, right? Because I can tell you right now, we're in the golden age. 9 times out of 10, you're going to substantially improve their situation. They're going to be in a better spot after you talk to them than if they had just left it where it is, right? And so they're going to say a lot of different things to say they're grateful. Typically, they'll say, well, thank you. I didn't know. That's your opportunity to potentially get introduced to other people in similar situations, maybe that you're not currently working with. When people say thank you to me, I might say to them, hey, I appreciate that and I'm really happy to help. I'll be honest with you. The best way you could thank me is helping me meet more people like you. Because quite frankly, I enjoy working with you. You're just the type of person that I've built my practice around, and I'd love to meet more people like you. Folks, birds of a feather flock together. If you've got a client that fits the profile that you love working with, that hits all the demographics, it's likely that their circle of friends and or family are very similar to them. So this is your opportunity. Even if you go through a review process that doesn't result in a change, they're going to be grateful and you're going to have an opportunity to get referrals from them. So again, Glenn mentioned the homework. 2 weeks to build the lists. The first thing we got to do is have you pull the data. If you're not comfortable or don't know how to do that, we can help you, right? Reach out to either myself or your DMI VP, Declan Donahue, or Corey Adamson. We can help you with the steps to build your data, to build your calendar, so to speak. We want to tier it. And, we went through the tiering system. We used by premium. You might have some other criteria that you use to tier those contracts, but it needs to be tiered. And then we're just going to sort them by call date, right? So now you're going to have this template, this game plan, this strategy to be able to systematically walk through your annuity book and have an opportunity to have conversations of substance with clients who have already voted with their checkbook that they trust you. It's the easiest prospecting in the world. And then our next session in 2 weeks, you just bring your top 10 to that session and Declan's going to walk you through the next steps of the process. So again, we're going to ask for 2 more Wednesdays and you will come out of this 3-part session or this 3-seminar program with an absolute game plan. We're getting into football season, so think about the game plan. Every football team creates a game plan specific to this week's upcoming game. Well, the fall is the start of the season. And in the annuity business, it really is the start of a new season, right? We all slow down a little bit in the summer, but in the fall is when we all get back to work and hit it. So what we at DMI are trying to do is help you build a game plan so that you can dominate the next season. So Glenn, I'm going to stop sharing here and why don't you pull up the homework assignment? And again, folks, this homework can be really easy if you let us help you.
Yeah, it sure can. Well, thank you so much, Eric. That was really great. Yeah, so guys, here's the homework. You can see it's not a Scantron test, which is great. You don't need a number two pencil. Basically, what this does is it goes through everything that Eric just discussed, but we wanted to get it written down for you. You may not remember everything from this call. So the first few pages here, just kind of like reiterating his points. But what I wanted to call your attention to was page 5. This is the calendar that Eric was referring to. So you want to be sure you get your client name and phone number in here, the maturity date, the amount. Do you want to talk about the amount, Eric, uh, that should go in there?
Yeah, I mean, certainly, I mean, it should be the current value, which is very easily obtained from the carrier websites. It's just market value for the most part.
Yeah,
If you can't have it, you could certainly put the original premium. We'll ultimately get the real value, but yeah, is
perfect.
that what you're referencing? Yeah,
Yep. And then the call date, that's going to be um, the uh, uh, the
90 days prior to the maturity
yes,
for the
yes.
first call. Yeah,
Maturity minus 90 days. Right. Okay. And then, of course, the tier then A, B, or C. And then as a reminder, down here, we have that documented here for you. A is 250,000 and up, B is 100 to 250, and C is under 100,000. Um, so if you guys would, it'd be great to get this organized before the next meeting. It's 2 weeks from now. Uh, and then just to let in case you do want to make some calls, you could. We do have, uh, 3 calls laid out here for you with some scripting cues, conversation starters, and that kind of thing. So take that into account. Uh, but um, but if you like, you could wait till the next call with Declan, and he's going to go over matching the uh, the opportunity to the vehicle, or the
right.
the annuity vehicle, right,
And,
Eric?
and and one thing I'd add, Glenn, is folks, obviously, client personal data is important. So on this calendar that you're filling out, this is a you thing, not an us thing. We're not going to ask you for the data. If you want to just put Sally and Mike and leave the phone number up, we know you have their phone number, right? We don't need their phone number. We're not calling them. If you want to just put the first names on that, it's fine. This is this document is for you, not us. Okay. We're not going to ask you for this document. We just want to partner with you on creating a plan, a systematic plan to review these contracts, right? So I just wanted to throw that out there. I know anytime, a vendor is talking about client names or, hey, give me the client name and we're asking for a phone number there. This is your document, not ours. Just wanted to be clear on that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and if you have any questions, certainly reach out to your DMI rep, or Eric would be happy to help. And actually, I'm going to pull up uh, Eric's contact information here. Give me 1 second. And then we also have a question. Uh, Stand by 1 second. So there must be an opportunity for all those annuity contracts out there that aren't being serviced, marketing for leads for annuity reviews. Like, what do you think, Eric? Would that be a good idea? Or
Yeah. So if I understand are we talking about orphan contracts? I mean, I guess that,
yeah,
yes.
I'm not clear.
Well, let
But
me answer it a couple of ways. So certainly, yes, there are probably hundreds of thousands of annuity contracts in force today that were written by agents that have passed, left the business, changed firms, left behind. Um, Folks, I believe it's the biggest opportunity in the annuity space today. Um, Refinancing existing contracts to the benefit of the client. So sure, yeah. I mean, if you were someone that, wanted to create a marketing program, reaching out to new clients that potentially might have an annuity, let me put it to you this way. If they're 50 and up and have a few bucks, it's likely that they own an annuity. Period. Period. Let's think about who's selling them: insurance agents, financial advisors, broker dealer reps, RIAs, um, bank reps have been for years, since the early 90s, right? They are out there. Everyone's got them. They're fixed, they're variable, they're RILAs, they're FIAs. Everybody's got them. So, yeah.
Yeah, and that sounds like a DIY campaign we could build, Eric, that give
Hmm.
access to DMI licensed agents,
Right.
where they could just take it and add their logos and that kind of thing. So I like the idea. Um, and then we've got a question. The American Equity site gives you an easy export option for a list of all contracts per rep. Or I guess
Hmm.
it's more of a comment.
Yeah. Well, and I would tell you that nearly every carrier makes it real easy. Now and again, I've had to call up and request book of business reports for advisors at certain carriers. But if it's a carrier you've heard of, if it's one of the leaders in the industry, I promise you, you can export your book to an Excel spreadsheet really easy.
There
Really
you
easy.
go.
Yep.
Perfect. Perfect. Well, if let's see if we have another question out there. I think we have another one, Eric. Is there some way to approach the orphan contracts inquiry? Um, so, yeah, what do you think about that?
Well, I mean, we get that question a lot. Hey, Eric, you got a contact over at Carrier A. How do I get a list of the orphan contracts? Um, and the answer is we don't, right? For privacy concerns, but we can't even access them. However, there are certain, as Glenn mentioned, marketing campaigns that could be implemented. Something as simple as a email drip campaign to a universe of clients. We select the right demographics, right? 55 and up in a area code perimeter around your location. Um, and do an email drip campaign, and you could find a lot that way.
Yeah, it would have to be it'd be kind of like a inbound marketing campaign where you're pulling people in
Right.
uh, based on the likelihood that they might have an annuity, right?
Yeah.
We wouldn't have enough data to know that they for sure have one.
Right.
But yeah, we and we can talk to you about that too. But I think we should at least put that template together to
I
help
agree.
people with that one. Yeah. We actually already have some stuff that approximates that, so it'd be easy.
Mhm.
Um, so I think we have another one. If there is access to a group of possible clients, opening contact. Uh, yeah, I think that I think we would just have to think through the nature of that campaign, the messaging of that campaign,
Right.
uh, and then yeah, the opening contact, you know, uh, could include scripting and that kind of stuff as well.
Right.
So
Glenn and team can put together. So if the question is, hey, if I do locate these folks that I don't have a current relationship with, maybe that have an annuity contract or two or 10, what is the best phraseology to use to get their attention and get in front of them? Glenn and team puts together really, really impactful and robust. I'll use the word scripts. I hate to use the word scripts, but scripting and or suggested phraseology that can set clients' minds at ease or prospects' minds at ease, and help make that opening approach as soft as possible.
yeah,
Right. So
yeah, and it may not match your style in some cases, but you just you take kind of the bones of it and make it your own.
right,
And we're good at least giving you some good conversation starters,
right,
uh, and then walking through the process. Yeah, so yeah, I don't think we have any other questions, Eric, and I
right.
really appreciate you going through all this today. And we're
Thank
getting
you.
some good response from the polling questions, so it seems like people are eager to get engaged with the homework. And like I said earlier, if you want to reach out to Eric or your DMI VP, they'll be happy to help in the most amount of detail or least amount of detail or whatever you like, and we'll go from there. But yeah, please work on the homework. You got 2 weeks, and again, you don't need a number two pencil to get it done. So and Declan will be on the next one. I think that's going to be a great meeting. So that's September 9th at noon. We'll send some reminders. Also, we're going to send a recording of this video, and we're also going to send that PDF that I was just showing you to your email. And then September 9th, we've got Declan talking about right chassis, right client. And then Corey Adamson on September 16th, he's going to be talking about, moving from yes to issued. So it's going to be a good group of sessions here. And guys, I really appreciate the attendance and all the engagement. Um, I think that's it for today. Can we conclude it there, Eric? What do you
I
think?
think so. I'll leave everybody with this, folks. It's the season's about to start. The fall season, historically, about 50% of the annuity premium gets done in the fall. So it's kickoff time. We want to help you have a game plan. And while this isn't super complicated, today's topic was pretty basic. It's amazing to me how few people do it. This is the biggest opportunity in the annuity business today, and it's probably the best opportunity that these old annuity contracts have had to get improved in the last decade. Don't miss out on the opportunity. And we're here to help.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Eric. And thanks for everybody that attended. I really appreciate you. I look forward to seeing you on the next one. All
Thank
right.
you.
Have a
Have a
very
great
good
day,
Wednesday.
everyone.
Take
Take care.
care. Bye bye.